All right. Critical win this past week for a number of occasions. First, it secured us a spot into the tournament, which is outstanding. So now we know for a fact that we have to do everything we can to secure our division, and I'm telling you, we're trying to secure the number one seed. All right, and our guys know that, and we know that as coaches also. Defensively, man, I thought our guys fought, especially for the new guys that we had that came in, and those guys played quality reps for us, and it was important to see exactly how they played. And my thought process was, man, do these guys play like lions? And they did. Every one of them. So, again, I give a lot of credit to our personnel department of understanding exactly what type of guys we want this defense, how they play, and those guys gave us everything they had. And the good thing about it is now they get another week into our system, understand exactly how we want to do things schematically, just enhance their level of understanding that schematically. So, looking forward to this game this week. Really good opponent from all different levels, from the quarterback to the skill level to the O-lineman. This is a huge challenge for us. Just like every week, man, we look forward to these challenges. Another good quality opponent.
It says a lot about a player when the coach wants to bring him into a different place when he's working there, and that's happened multiple times in Quan's career.
7 times?
When a coach brings a guy in that he's worked with before somewhere else, it's happened multiple times with Quan. Sean brought him back. Yep. Robert Saleh brought him back. You and Dan are bringing him back.
Yeah.
What is it about that player that you just want to be around him?
Listen, I told the staff immediately that you're gonna love the practice habits of this player, from walkthrough to true practice habits, because of how intentional he is about his work. He's very, very vocal. He understands as a linebacker that you actually lead the team from that aspect, and he does a good job of that. He's a violent player. He plays fast. His instincts, to me, is just on another level of understanding the game. And when you have a player like that, you've been around him, man, you want to get as many of those players back as you can. So for us to get a chance to have that player back, it was important for us to bring him back. And I think he enjoys playing for us also.
Since the addition of Amari Cooper, what have you seen just as far as differences in this offense, how much it's opened up with the addition of him? And then Khalil Shakir just doesn't seem to draw passes. So what's the challenge that you have?
I can't say that the offense has changed. What I can say, if they add another weapon, which always makes it hard, and a quality weapon at that. And when you talk about Shakir, I mean, he's a damn good slot receiver. He gets in and out of his cuts real well. Listen, he's faster than what people give him credit for. And you saw it in the Rams game when he ran away from everybody. And I think it was only just a short 5-yard pass for him to be able to do that. So, listen, our DBs got their hands full. We know that. I mean, Amari's been a Pro Bowler, high-paid receiver in this league for a long time. And for him to be able to get with this offense, with this quarterback, with this O-line, and the other skilled players they got, it allows him to be in more one-on-one situations. So, the thing is, we got to do a really good job of making sure we stay on the top shoulder of him, because he still has that fade ball that he can go out there and be able to catch.
One of the things Dan said this week is when talking about Josh, just his patience. You look at some of the interception numbers for him are low.
Right.
He was double digits the last 4 years. Has that jumped out on tape? And when you see that, how much is taking advantage of those maybe 1 or 2 chances that you do get Sunday to make a play? How much are they that much more important when you see a player who's limiting the giveaways?
To me, that's every quarterback. Anytime you get a chance to make a play on a mistake from that aspect. But what you're saying about Josh is true. I mean, he's done a really good job, and I give a lot of credit to Joe Brady and that staff also. And I can't tell you what they told him, but what I do know is, man, all the interceptions, all the fumbles that he used to have, I mean, those things are really gone away. And I think he understands himself, and I give him credit because he's grown in that aspect, and he knows where to go with the ball. I think they have an offense to where, man, they're distributing the ball to a number of different people. And I know they're going to get some people back this week who are a huge part of the offense, so that's going to be something we have to be ready for also. But, man, this quarterback, he's an MVP caliber guy. I mean, there's no doubt about that, and we know that. But we're going to go out there and do everything we can to stop what he's trying to do. It's going to be a tough challenge. We know it.
He's probably the best quarterback that you faced this year, and maybe a precursor for what you'll see in the playoffs at some point, especially if you get to the Super Bowl.
Well, I won't disrespect any of the quarterbacks that we've seen, but I will say this: he's a damn good one, and we all know that. And listen, Super Bowl, we're going out there to win a game, all right? And our guys know that, and they're going to do a damn good job of doing that. And again, we're looking forward to it.
Well, regardless, I guess, of where he ranks, when you play an elite quarterback, how, if at all, do you have to play different, and how is that maybe a precursor for the defense?
To any elite quarterback in this league, man, we know that they're the guys that they have a chance to change the game. And there's certain aspects of the game that he really has a chance to change. And I would say that in critical situations, third downs, red zone, you see it, 2-minute situations. Heck, he burned us when we played him a couple of years ago on Thanksgiving in a 2-minute situation. So he has that talent to be able to do that. And most of those elite quarterbacks do. So we just have to be better than him. That's what it comes down to. In any situation there is in this game, we have to be better than him.
Dan said that Sirianni played his best game against the Packers. I'm wondering from your perspective what you liked about his performance and over the final stretch of his last quarter, where do you expect him from?
Listen, he's always been sticky in coverage. It's the growth of him from how he started to where he is now. And I know that everybody was on him about these PIs, which still kills me. But listen, that player is going to be a damn good player for us. Ice water in his veins, understands how we play, wants to challenge people in man coverage, and really understands a lot better how to play zone coverage. So as he continues to progress in this league, he's just going to get better and better and better. And listen, we're putting a lot of pressure on this player by the way that we play, but there's no other way that he will want it. So I'm glad we got him for the simple fact that he's going to be one of the top corners of this league as his years progress.
Speaking of putting a lot of pressure on a player, Calvin Shepard said yesterday he thought Jack Campbell played as well as any linebacker in the league.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Where do you see his
Well, I haven't seen every linebacker play, but he's doing a good job for us, and that's all I care about. So anytime he's on the field for us, in whatever capacity. And the thing is, we use Jack in a lot of different situations now. I mean, a lot of different formations. He could be on the line. He could be behind the ball. He can be in coverage. So we utilize that player a lot. But I know this, he's a damn good player for us, and I keep saying this, he's a true Mike linebacker. For him to stand in front of a group of men, for the way they respect him, it's unreal. And you see it, and I'm sure the players talk about that too. He's a man's man. He understands what we're trying to do, and he's continuing to try to get better.
Where do you think he's gotten better this season?
His ability to communicate across the board in everything that we do. And that's the number one thing as a Mike linebacker. Make sure that we're in the right situation, no matter what the situation is. Just like a quarterback, right? He's the quarterback of our defense right now.
So quickly,
Say it again.
how do you think Jack earned that respect of the
Practice is what it all comes down to. And his communication and being right. So, and he does that, quite often.
Beyond Allen's decision-making, was the toughest quarterback in the league to sack this year. When you're having trouble, I guess, getting to a guy because of the mobility, because of the strength, whatever it is, what's the most important thing for the defense to make him comfortable?
Well, the first thing that we have to do, we have to stay in coverage. And our DBs know that, and he can extend plays. And that's one of our defense, we have to make sure we don't allow him to make these off-schedule plays like he's made throughout his career. And when we do have him, man, we have to wrap, and it has to be population to the ball to make sure that we, get him tied up and get him to the ground. Listen, it is hard to tackle this guy. I mean, we all know that, but I think our guys look forward to that.
How thankful are you to have Calvin Shepard and Terrell Williams on your staff, just in general, but then at a time like this where the attrition is kind of taking over and you got to bring guys up to speed pretty quickly?
Listen, I talked about that with all of our assistant coaches. Really, I talked about Correa, I talked about Cam, I talked about Ham, what those guys mean to me as staff, being on the staff. And having Shep there with me, he's been there from the beginning. And he knows exactly how I think, exactly. And that's a guy that I've been actually mentoring to be in the DC role at some point. I think he's damn near close, if not there, to be ready to do that. and he's a damn good coach. He's fiery. Everything that you need as a linebacker coach, he's that. And there are certain coaches on the staff that I think have to be bulldogs. He's one of those coaches at that position, along with D-line, O-line, and running back. You have to be a freaking bulldog, and he does a good job of that. I didn't say it. But in T, man, he's, if not the best, he's one of the best D-line coaches in this league, and the players respect him. His ability to teach, his ability to connect and relate is out of this world. And I'm glad I have him.
Bulldogs at those positions.
Say it again?
Why do they have to be bulldogs?
Because you want bulldogs as players. Absolutely. They take on the coach's identity.
The thing I want to ask you is, I think when Ellen beat you guys a couple years ago, there were like 23 seconds on the clock when you took over. And like years ago, that would have been, no time at all. And now it seems like an eternity for some quarterbacks. When you were in a
Absolutely.
situation like that, what are the...
Well, the first thing is how many timeouts do they have that you have to think about because of the amount of plays you could run in that situation and yardage you can get with the amount of timeouts. And that's one area I think that I've grown tremendously. And I think every coach tried to. I mean, now they have these guys that's actually handling that. And that's one thing I want to be able to learn on my own. And just to every second, with timeouts, I've grown tremendously in that aspect. So it is an eternity, especially if you have timeouts. No timeouts, depending on where you're out on the field, man, you could take advantage of, man, when they throw the ball inbounds, all right, and then being able to do things defensively to help yourself as far as making the time go away and what type of calls you want to be in. So I actually enjoy those times. We do them a lot in practice. Dan does a hell of a job of putting us in those situations and allowing me to have to think fast and make calls we have to make. And I teach our players the same thing, so they understand exactly what I'm going to call. So they're doing a good job in those situations.
They might have messed up, man. They might have awoken a sleeping giant there down in North Carolina. Proud Tar Heel alum right now. They are. I can't wait to see what happens there. Proud of those guys for getting that done. But no longer a basketball school, Justin.
I don't know why you're targeting me. How excited are you? It seems.
Since you opened up the line of questioning, were you contacted by the school at all?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't consulted on the Belichick hire?
I was not. But I am happy for it. I am
Can
happy.
you, obviously started off there, but can you contextualize your excitement? I don't know how connected you still feel to your alma mater, but I mean, it's probably one of the most exciting things that's ever happened with that program.
Yeah, and especially when you have Duke alums and NC State alums in this building, it certainly makes it that much sweeter because we haven't had too many wins over those two schools over the last few years. So, Scotty, I'm all over Scotty right now. Ray Agnew, I was rubbing in his face here this morning. We're already setting the over-under for wins next year, whether or not we're making the playoffs, college playoffs. But yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time to be a Tar Heel.
So what's the over-under?
I said 9.5. Everyone's taking the under. I don't know. You just shoot for the stars.
As a Dave Fipp tried to already start laying the inroads to the Belichick.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of an infatuation with Coach Belichick, and so he's already been on me about getting back to Chapel Hill, and we'll see if we can get that done here this spring.
Speaking of over and under, top two offenses going at it this week. I mean, could we see something like, Rams, Chiefs from a few years ago, a track meet, just an explosion of points in this game? Would that something you'd be welcome to see?
Yeah, I think whenever you go into a game expecting that, it's usually the polar opposite is what I've come to expect. So probably be a defensive showdown on both sides of the ball. It is a darn good unit. I haven't been able to watch too much film other than what we've seen crossover tape from previous opponents. But, I think with Joe Brady, Josh Allen, they've got a lot of playmakers. We know what they can do. It seems like the tale of how we score points has been different than them. We've been a little bit more variation over the course of the year. We've had some really big games, and we've had some games where we've been a little bit disappointed with what we've done. But it's all averaged out at a high level, whereas they feel like it's pretty steady, 30 points a game almost. And so we know we got our work cut out for us, keeping up with them. But it'll be a good test. It's a darn good defense. I mean, these guys, Coach McDermott, Bobby Babich, they are sound, they're smart, they've had this same scheme. You can tell those guys know what they're doing. They know where their weaknesses are, and they make you play the hard game, which is play efficient football. They limit explosive plays, and they play good red zone defense. So we'll see how this one turns out.
A lot of people sort of point to it as maybe a potential Super Bowl matchup. I don't know if you ever allow yourself to think that far ahead, and if so, is there anything that you do different, hold back, how you approach?
No, I think, that's looking too far ahead for us. The head coach said it best early this week. We have earned a spot in the tournament based on what we've done thus far. We still need to win the division. We still want to get the number 1 seed, and everything will play out from there. But that's all way too far out in the future right now.
There's been a lot of talk about the leadership of Dan Campbell and preparing for these big games like that. I guess going back to even last year, you look at the NFC title game and what happened in that game. What changed, if any, in his leadership style of preparing the team for these big games where you're not making, even though it might be a Super Bowl preview, but not treating it any differently than any other games?
I honestly, I don't think I've seen any change from him in his leadership style. I do think what I've seen this year, as opposed to prior years, is he has not shied away from the high expectations. And, for a guy that really hasn't been in this position before, I cringe a little bit just looking at it and seeing it all take place. But now, as I'm watching it unfold, I'm like, man, it was a beautiful thing, because our guys, he knows who they are, what they're made of, and they've really risen to the challenge up to this point of the season. And they love having the target on their back. We know we're getting everybody's best shot right now. And I think Coach Campbell's a big reason why we are so prepared each week. We haven't, over the last few years, we've had a dud game that kind of gets sprinkled into the season. And fortunately, so far this year, we really haven't had that. Or if we have had it, we've been able to overcome that dud game and still come out on top at the end. So, I don't know that I've seen anything different from him in his approach, but it was certainly interesting to see how much he's embraced it and say, hey, let's go.
You see the trickle effect on other members of the staff though as well, not only yourself, but just is it a trickle effect from him to everybody else as well?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I'll say personally, I'm always early in the week a little bit on edge about, I need to get through all the tape. I need to see our guys go through practice. I need to see the plays before end of the week. I'm usually confident. And then he'll come into that first staff meeting, and no matter how you're feeling, hey, we're going to get after this crew, and it kind of alleviates any anxiety you might have early in the week. He can always see how he wants this game to play out with all 3 phases. He's already there. So, he uplifts all of us.
I'm curious about that same topic. Over the last couple of years, how has Dan made you a better coach?
Oh, goodness gracious. That's a hard one to reflect on at the moment, because that's a very deep question. I think when you look at Dan Campbell, you're really you see a guy who's very comfortable in his own skin. He's not afraid. I mean, you take last week as an example. He's not afraid to go away from the norm and deal with the consequences, good or bad, from it. And I know everyone in this league, they always say, be yourself, be you, especially when you get a head job. And I think he's embodied that to a T. He uplifts everybody on that staff when everyone's kind of in a little bit of a funk. We're mid-season. It might be a case of the Mondays early in the week, and he knows how to bring us up. And then when we're feeling ourselves, he also knows how to press the right button so that we feel that rock in our shoe as well. So, as far as it has impacted me, that's a very deep question and one I would like to give more thought to.
Carlos's question earlier about being a shootout. Dan said, I think maybe after the Green Bay game, that this was a game we knew we had to lean on our offense a little bit more. I don't know how expansive that is with like 4th down decisions and whatnot, but when you're going out there, you say you're trying to score a touchdown every time. How does that mindset change when Dan says something like that? I don't know, in the game planning process where you feel like the onus is a little bit more on your group to execute?
Listen, we have set the bar really high, springtime and in training camp, and our guys don't bat an eye. I mean, I just came from a walkthrough where we see a guy in blitz pickup make a mistake, and how disappointed he is with himself. We get the repeat, and we get it right, and we keep moving. So our guys are trained at this point right now to set the bar super high. They know what the expectations are. going into this thing. So, yeah.
Matt Milano's been a productive player in this league, but dealt with some injuries. I'm just curious what you've seen from him in his return and what challenges there.
He's one of the many guys on that defense that's been there for a long time, and he knows it inside and out. Really good coverage player from the running back position out of the backfield. He covers those guys up. Great blitzer. He knows exactly where to be. He reads the quarterback's eyes, and so smart, instinctive, and there's certainly a better unit when he's out there.
We saw Stafford and those receivers gash the Bills secondary pretty good last week. I assume you've watched some of that. Just from your perspective, what did they do schematically that they worked so well against the Bills defense?
Yeah, I think the tail of the tape was how good they were on third down. I think at one point they were 9-10, and they finished the game well over 50%, maybe 11 for 15, something like that. They were extremely good on third down, and I think that's what helped them extend the drives and end up coming out on top. I mean, this unit is really good at forcing negative runs, 0-yard gains, putting you behind the sticks, making you earn it the hard way. And so they found a way to keep it going there on third down. And it was a combination of the primary receiver getting open, it was beating man coverage, it was Stafford extending the play and making some plays in street ball more mentality. And so we just watched all those third downs back to back to back, and our guys understand what the task is at hand.
Goff said yesterday he was, he's learned to look at the game differently from, working with you and your readings and such. But, coming from the Rams in that situation and then Anthony Lynn and that difficulty transitioning to you, what was the challenge for you to get him on the same page with you and to get him to see the game the way you see it and have a collaboration? Now that he's an MVP candidate too.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, first of all, I had to understand where he was at, and so that was. It's just spending a lot of time together. It's talking through what he understood about their system that he was so comfortable in LA, both from a concept standpoint, but also protections as well, because that's really where he's made the most growth, is being able to identify where the issues are, change the slide, throw hot if necessary. And so it's really been, Carlos, more time on task together. And now it's going into year 3, and we're very comfortable with why we're calling plays, what the issues are. And I think the things that get overlooked with him is when I call a bad play against the wrong defense, he quickly responds, and he's quick to dirt the ball right away and live for another day. He doesn't want to make a bad play any worse and create a negative. So I think that's where that gets overlooked in this league a little bit. Guys want to create and they want to extend the play, and he's learned to be, hey, we got good, talented players. Let's live to the next down, and we'll overcome it the next play.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. In that red zone play, when Amon-Ra's lined up on the touchdown pass to Patrick, and he lined up as a running back, Dan mentioned how that play worked as well designed as it was because Jared processed very quickly where he had to go with the ball.
Yeah.
How much trust do you have to, how long does it take to build that kind of trust to make sure he's going to be able to process that quickly?
Well, no, I think it's the fact that he's going to year 9 right now, he's seeing the field better than he ever has. The game has legitimately slowed down, and we see this every single day with Hendon Hooker, all right? Not to put the spotlight on him, but as a young player, there's a lot going on with the different tempos that we use, with the shifts and motions that we use, with the cadences that we use, and you can kind of see him over the course of the year so far this year, he's gotten better and better and better, and then you put Jared out there and just how much slower and calmer the game is for him at this point. He's been 9 years into it now at this point, so he can identify quickly if a defender's been out leveraged and we can get an easy one to the drag route that Amon-Ra was running, or if he needs to progress to 2 to 3 to 4. And he's just gotten faster and faster over the last 3 years that we've had him.
Yeah, early in this conversation today, you said, maybe the Super Bowl talk early was, I think, is it cringe or uncomfortable, right? The way it was approached. We talk all the time about coaches growing as play callers and how they see the field, but is that, an example of maybe how you're growing as a leader, just seeing the different motivational tactics and how they play out over a given season?
Yeah, I mean, I've been around a number of really good coaches. I really have. And I'm fortunate. I think Coach Campbell is probably the best leader I've been around. Certainly from the head coaching spot, he does a phenomenal job. And so there's a million things that I've learned from him in our time together. There's a million things that I learned from Scotty Montgomery each and every day. There's a million things I learned from Hank, from Steve Hayden, from Mark Brunell, from Randall L., from Coach Glenn. I mean, it really goes across the board. It's not just Coach Campbell, but we're always learning, we're always growing. Yeah, we do want to be ourselves and the best version of ourselves, but you always grab something from the guys around you, and it makes you better.
How do you approach including Jared as a collaborator or like a co-owner even of the offense?
Say it again.
I'm wondering how you approach including Jared as a co-owner or collaborator on the offense.
Well, we just make time every single week, early in the week, every night before he leaves the building. We sit down, we'll either watch practice together, we'll watch cut-ups together, and he'll kind of spitball, hey, I'm thinking this, that, or the other. These are the things I've done that I really like, and we'll find a way to incorporate those. The things that he's most comfortable with usually work on game days, so we want to give him a lot of liberty early in the week. Hey, I think we can get a post if we do this or that, and we'll try to find a way to make that an alert for him if we can call it against the right coverage. So it's just, call it an hour every day over the course of the week. We got a good process right now from Monday to Sunday that we just keep hitting the reset button every week. We can't get tired of it, but he's doing a great job of that.
How we doing? Okay, first things first, I don't do this often, but Zach Kiefer, that's you? Okay, so I got this article on my desk. This was back in August, and it was on Grant Stewart. Solomon gave me the article. I don't read many articles. I don't read any. I read Pro Football Talk, sorry. But he gave me this article. It's been sitting on my desk since because I've been meaning to write you a letter and tell you this was an incredible article, a great story on a great dude, man. I got a chance to play against a guy this year and got a chance to talk to him after the game. It's really well written on a great story, and to me, what this game's all about, I love it, man. So nice job. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay.
When
Dan talked this week about just how important special teams are going to be in a game like this, being able to flip the field, and he's looking for a big play from special teams in some regard. Just when your head coach says that, how much do you revel in that challenge, and does that trickle down to your guys at all?
Yeah, for me, honestly, we're trying to help our team win a game every single week. So I see it differently than him. Not that it's not a challenge to us, and we're not trying to go out there and help our team, but I feel like we're trying to help our team every single week that we play the game. And I feel like we've done a very good job in a lot of areas in a lot of games. Obviously, we hope to go out there and make an impact, but I do know this, in playing the game, the most important thing you can do is go out there and execute. When you execute and you got 11 guys on the field, they're doing their job and doing it with everything they got, then you got a chance to make a play, and plays end up coming to you. And really, in games like this, in my experience, the best teams go out there and they have 11 guys execute at such a high level every play that when the opportunity presents itself, someone makes the play, and those end up being the difference in the game. So for us, the goal is to go out there and play great, have 11 guys execute, do their job with everything they got, and hopefully at some point the opportunity will present itself, and if that comes on special teams, then great. I know our guys will end up being ready and making a play. But, yeah, I think it's hard to go chase a play, is my point, and that's really when you end up getting in trouble when you try to make things happen. I think this game's all about execution. The teams that execute the best end up winning.
You brought him up a couple weeks ago, but Pat O'Connor had the biggest defensive role of his career. I was trying to look up what you're talking about. It might have been one of his biggest special teams roles of his career as well. 18 snaps, I'm sure he was gassed after the game, but how unique is it that you got a 300-pounder out there contributing on special teams in this era of those units, and what is he giving you?
Yeah, so the one thing I will say is, and I say this to people inside the building too, but sometimes, people look at play count and they say, man, this guy played a lot of plays. And it's like, yeah, he did. But by the way, 12 kickoffs and kickoff returns were touchbacks. And so they didn't move a whole lot on those 12. So then you're down to 6 field goal blocks, which is what he did for us in that game. And I'm not minimizing his role because, man, I love him. And to your point, I know he was gassed because he would come right off the field into the huddle for a kickoff return, and he'd be like, okay, I'm ready to go. And it's like, God dang, man, look at this guy. So you can't help but appreciate it. And I know that there's a mental tax too when you have a job description. So kick cover, kick return, even if the play didn't play out, there's a mental tax there and a tax during the week in practice, and I definitely recognize that. So anyways, but he's a badass. I mean, everyone loves the guy. He plays his tail off. I'm glad, he got to play a bunch of defense in that game, and all the coaches were raving about how he played on that side of the ball too. He's definitely helped us because we have covered some kicks, and he's been a major factor in doing that on our kickoff cover, and hopefully we'll see kickoff return thing too. He's done a great job for us there. Hopefully that'll come up in this game. Last game, these guys covered a handful of kicks against the Rams, so we're hoping to get some of those opportunities too.
I want to ask you about Mac Hollins. There were some clips of him walking into the stadium barefoot a couple weeks ago, and a lot of people were sharing some good stories. I know he was in your room in Philly as a rookie. Do you have any good Mac Hollins stories?
No, I don't have a ton. I know this. Obviously, I knew him well coming out. I think he was definitely our top special teams guy on the board. He was a wideout out of North Carolina. My guys at North Carolina. Out of North Carolina. And he was a great player. I know that every special teams coach probably had him as their top guy coming out. So he's a great player. He obviously played for us in Philly. He's a great dude. I'm really happy for him and the career he's had. He's played for a handful of teams now. Last time we played against him, I believe he was in Atlanta, and he really gave us problems on the outside. As a gunner for us, their right gunner, which I'm assuming he's going to play against us this week. So I know our guys are excited for the challenge because he's got speed and size, and he plays a competitive brand of football, and he'll be a factor for us. We got to make sure we take care of him.
We asked you about the North Carolina thing. What do you think there, when a team kicks off like they do for returns, what does that mean for you guys? How excited do they get since it's so rare now?
Yeah, you hope to get it. It's like kind of for us in the last game, a lot of teams are kicking right on the edge of and it's kind of like, well, why didn't you return that? And obviously for us, it's like I always tell you guys, the team's the most important thing. I'd love to swing the bat every chance we got, but ultimately we're trying to win the game. And so hopefully we'll get some returnable balls, the ball in play. I know our guys like to return them. They like to compete on the play. But ultimately, as the return team, you don't really dictate that. It depends on really the ball that they give you. So hopefully we'll get the opportunity this week. This team we're playing against has done a few different things. They play Kansas City and Indianapolis, and they didn't have any returnable kicks. And then they come back indoors or semi-indoors in L.A., and they had 3 of them returned. So hopefully we'll get them.
You guys have made a couple last-second field goals this season, and we've seen across the league a couple block kicks in those instances. So I'm just kind of curious if you have a specific, is the message different in the huddle right before, or on the sidelines right before those kicks?
Yeah, I would treat that kind of similar to the trying to go make a play thing. I hope we're playing our best every single play we're out there. And that includes field goal protection. So, I hope we wouldn't treat one play differently than another because they're all important. But I do think that you bring up a legitimate point, and I think people don't realize, like I said to the guys this morning, actually, that 1.3 seconds might be the hardest 1.3 seconds in a game of football when you're talking about a game-winning kick on the line, the strain. I mean, the job is mentally pretty simple in field goal protection, but physically it's 1.3 seconds of everything you got to try to strain and keep that opponent from getting there. And I think what can happen inside buildings is you get spoiled, and you guys go out there and they do a great job, and you feel like, oh yeah, well, that will never happen to us, or well, you don't realize it happens. It's happened to a lot of teams around the league. So really for me, I don't take that for granted. The effort and what those guys do in protection, the operation, the snap, the hold, the kick, the timing, it's all important. It's like I told our players, everything, the alignment, where their jab foot is, where their hinge foot is, the depth of that foot. Everything adds up, and it shows up in those moments. And if you get it right, then you end up being successful. So those guys have done a great job in protection all year long. And sometimes you don't realize it you don't know what you had until you lose it, sometimes. So I feel like those guys have done a great job. Really appreciate and respect the job that they've done.
Amount of kicks blocked in the game-winning situations, or do we just notice them more because of the magnitude of the moment? Are teams deploying like their best rushes or taking more chances? What's happening in those situations?
It is a good question. I mean, so I think one thing that's kind of happening around the league, it started off this season early in the year. So a year ago, you're not allowed to hit the long snapper in the head or neck area, which define that. No one knows really what that is. Area is a big area or a small one. So anyway, over the last couple of years, nobody would rush the A gap and they would stay away from it because 15-yard personal foul, automatic first down. And then what happened is the league sends out tapes throughout the course of the year, and they give kind of interpretations on plays and whatnot. And there was a play early in the season. It was Dallas and New Orleans. And I believe it was New Orleans was rushing the field goal of Dallas. And there was a lot of contact on the snapper on the play, and the league kind of clarified the play and said that the level of contact that was there was not egregious enough to warrant a flag. Well, so then all of a sudden it was like, okay, here we go. We can heat up the A-gaps. They're not going to throw a flag. And so then they really didn't. And then now it's like, then comes the Chicago Bears Green Bay one. And I think there's two different sides of that. You hear some people say a flag should have been thrown. Some people say no flag should have been thrown. But ultimately, they're not throwing the flags on those plays, so you're seeing more contact. So a lot of these blocks have happened in the A-gap where there hasn't been as much of a rush in the last few years. I also kind of related a little bit to, like, I always say to the players, you can't tell me what the rule book says. The rule book says you can't hold, but you can hold. You just can't hold if the guy's outside the framework of your body. If there's restriction at the point of attack, he's trying to get away from you. If you take him down the ground, they're going to throw a flag. But you can hold him as long as your hands are inside and your feet are in front of him. So, like, what the rule book says doesn't matter. It's really what they officiate. And so it's the same with all these plays. So it's like, yeah, you can't have direct contact to the snapper in the head or neck area, but if it's his hip, it's okay. If it's his thigh board, it's fine. If it's his shoulder, is that what's warranting the flag? Well, right now, nothing's warranting the flag, or nothing has. So ultimately, you're seeing people heat up the A-gaps. So you have to coach to what's being played out there or what's being allowed to be played. But it's a fine line, because if you're the team who lets it rip in the A-gap and then on the game winner and gets the flag called on you, obviously it could cost you the game. On the flip side, I also think what's going on is it's kind of like those Hail Mary plays. You don't see many flags on those things, right? Well, I feel like that last second field goal is starting to turn into that, where it's like, hey, we're going to let them play unless it's like totally egregious. So you just always are adapting. As a coach in this league, you're always adapting to kind of how they're calling the game and how they want the game to play out. And I'm definitely not critiquing or criticizing. This is just the reality of our shoes as coaches. You're trying to adapt to how they officiate or call the game or how the league wants it.
Any thoughts on Belichick in North Carolina?
Yeah, I'm pumped for him, man. I mean, you guys all know, I don't know Belichick, but I love him. As my kids say, it's my man crush. I don't even know what that is. It doesn't sound good. But no, I still hope to sit down and talk football with him one day. So Ben Johnson and I are going back to North Carolina in the offseason. We're going to hang out with him. Yeah, I know. Ben's got to get me in.
Real quick, J-Mo mentioned last week that you guys have kind of grown pretty tight over the past couple seasons, like to mess around with each other. I know he's been in your ear a bunch about returning punts, but like aside from that, what have you grown to appreciate about him? Do you have a man crush on J-Mo as well?
No, I think I love all the players, to be honest with you. I really do. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for players. That's why you coach, is to be around them and try to help them out. I just know that J-Mo is a guy who he was playing at Alabama, and he gave himself up for the good of the team by playing on special teams when he probably didn't have to. I know that's a lot of Nick Saban's doing too, and that's kind of what they do there. But the guy's a competitor, man, and he loves playing. And he's not unlike like all of us, or at least like myself. I mean, he's had his ups and downs, and he's probably taken his wrong turns. And I think that, you're rooting for guys to end up finding their way, grow up, use this game as an avenue to get to some place that they probably never would have been. I know certainly for myself. I mean, I tell people all the time, I can't believe I'm here. It's just a blessing. This game's been the biggest blessing in my life. And so you enjoy seeing players have a chance to use this game as an avenue to get more out of themselves than maybe they would have gotten without it, and maybe it helps them grow up. So for me, it's really just been the process of watching him mature and grow and learn from his mistakes. But this game's really provided him an opportunity to do that, and yeah, I love the way he plays the game. I love what the game means to him. He's shown that by how he operates at practice, how fast he practices, how fast he plays in the game, the fact that he wants to go back there and return punts. You know what I mean? So I would say that's kind of my relationship with him.